Back with our two big-brained Republican strategists, Tom Rath up in Manchester, New Hampshire, Dan Senor here in the studio with us. Tom, all politics is local is true everywhere, no more true than in New Hampshire. You've got an incumbent United States Senator, Kelly Ayotte, Donald Trump refused to endorse her, and then a poll comes out the next day showing her 10 points behind in New Hampshire in this poll, where Trump is even further behind. How much panic is there in her campaign and amongst New Hampshire Republicans about the capacity to keep that seat if Trump doesn't turn things around?
I wish they had taken that poll after he refused to endorse her, because I think her numbers would be higher. I think it's a genuine concern, but not to be totally lighthearted. His casting her aside really helps her here. Independence is prized in our senators. That seat was held by Warren Rudman for 12 years and for Judd Gregg for 18 years. That's a pretty important Republican independent kind of seat. And Kelly Ayotte fits that mold exactly. I think the numbers that are out today are frightening and scary, but don't forget there are 3 extra weeks in this, so the bounce that goes up will settle some. I think New Hampshire voters, you guys know, are very savvy, and they can split tickets, and they know where the candidates are that they're looking for. I believe that impact will go down, and frankly, as Trump's numbers go down nationally and he becomes less of a threat to win the presidency, the argument that electing Kelly Ayotte's going to help Donald Trump goes totally out the window.
As a silver lining argument. What practical effect has there been amongst Republicans, from what Trump has said and done in the last 2 weeks?
Oh, I would say there's more panic now than I've ever seen before. And there have been periods of panic in the past around Judge Curiel, but now is real. I'm just hearing from more and more members, for instance, from the House, who say, maybe I should unendorse. I don't know if they will. I think 2 other things have to happen before they unendorse. One is poll numbers have to really crash. We're starting to see bad poll numbers. But I think by Labor Day, if you've got really bad poll numbers, and he had a good fundraising month, but it's not clear that's sustainable. And if it's not, so if the RNC is under-resourced, and therefore their infrastructure in the states are under-resourced, and the Trump campaign doesn't have real money, and his polls are bad, combined, up against the backdrop of him saying some pretty crazy, offensive things, I think you could see people speaking out more aggressively. I'm not sure they're going to start pulling back endorsements. My gut tells me that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Paul Ryan, when the Judge Curiel thing said, you're a racist, but I'm still going to endorse you.
Yeah.
He got dissed by Trump this week. He saw the con thing. He was obviously upset about that. Did his cute little thing with the pocket constitution. What would it take to get Paul Ryan to actually finally say, enough, I'm done with Donald Trump? What would it take?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Is there anything he could do?
Well, he said today.
Like he
said today his endorsement is not a blank check, and he's pretty consistent about saying that. So one could argue that this is not an unconditional endorsement. He said that today in his interview with the Green Bay radio station. I think what he's dealing with. Look, I believe Trump is a danger to the country. And I believe that statement needs to be made loud and clear. And once that statement is made, obviously it's difficult to stand by the endorsement. What Paul Ryan and other Republican leaders are dealing with is they believe, regardless of who is president, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, it is really important that the House Republicans have their majority. Hopefully the Senate Republicans have their majority. Do you want Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan in the room for either of those presidencies? The answer is probably yes. You want them to be a check on it. And they believe that real divisiveness with the presidential campaign will make that harder. Now, I don't share that analysis. I think actually they'll be just fine, and I don't think it'll have real electoral implications for the House and Senate Republicans, but that is what they are wrestling with, and that's what they're trying to balance.
Tom Rath, New Hampshire is obviously a special state, but as you said correctly, it's politically attuned and maybe ahead of the rest of the country in paying attention. It was a great state for Trump in the nomination fight and a horrible state for Clinton. I know there have been lots of things that happened between now and the primary, but what has caused this huge turnaround in your state, do you think?
Well, I think it's Donald Trump. I think, don't forget, he got 33%. Now, that was a good number in a field of 16, but it's not 50. And I think there has been a period of time, first when the idea of a Trump presidency was inconceivable, then it became possible, and now that it is real, that he's the alternative, I think it's beginning to be one that people cannot put their arms around and accept. And Secretary Clinton, got beat badly up here, but she's been able to pull those people back in. They were never going to go to the Republican side either. I will say that between the two of them, this is not an election at the moment that's sparking a great deal of enthusiasm out there. I think everybody would rather have somebody else or some other choice.
Tom, I know it's hard for you to think outside the borders of the Granite State, but I'm going to ask you to do that just right now. And what do you think would be the tipping point at which we would start to see mass defections away from Trump? What would have to happen for that to happen?
I think you're pretty close to it right now, Mark. I think Dan's right. We got some time to play out here to Labor Day, and I don't think the word endorsement means a bloody thing. It's a question of, are they going to run their own races? Is there going to be a unified effort? There's no indication from the Trump high command that they want to bring other campaigns in. I think they're going to this is going to fade into irrelevance. And as we get closer to the real day, the candidates are going to run their own campaigns. And I'm sure there'll be still the noise of the presidential race. But I think on the ground, it's not going to mean nearly as much as it usually does.
If Trump started doing what they say he's going to do, and he suggested he would talk about Hillary Clinton and the economy, would that calm people down?
Yes, I think it would calm people down, but it's really late. It's really late, and I, it's not clear. Look, if he has good debates, you can think of these moments where he could sort of perform well and the polling would look a little better. But I think we're already in August. I just think it's really late. The good news is most of the Senate Republican campaigns that are competitive are pretty well resourced right now. I give McConnell a lot of credit. He and his team and their super PAC have raised a lot of money. The individual super PACs have raised a lot of money. The campaigns have raised a lot of money. These Senate candidates are in actually pretty good shape. So even if Trump collapses, which I think he will, I think a lot of these Senate Republicans can hang on. And if Ryan and the House Republicans can hang on to the majority, it will exceed expectations of where many of us thought things would be with Trump at the top of the ticket.
Last percent chance Trump has of winning?
20, 30%.
30%. Tom Rath, percent chance of Trump winning?
I'm south of that. I'm around 20.
Yeah, but even if you were getting on a plane and the pilot said 20% chance of crashing, what would you say?
On that,
I'd say,
get me off this
I'll
plane.
take the train.
Closing on that cheery metaphor.
Yeah.
Tom Rath and New Hampshire, Dan Senor here. Thank you both.
It feels like a plane crash.